This is the Fantasy Football 411 podcast. The best place to get the latest 411 on your fantasy football team. Here are your hosts, Alex and Amanda.
Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Football 411 podcast.
I am your host, Alex.
And I'm Amanda.
And I almost didn't make it here tonight. I had a little run-in with Bambi. Well, I shouldn't say I had a run-in with Bambi. Bambi had a run-in with me. But either way, we're here. Kind of could have gone without this week in fantasy. Both my teams in both leagues didn't do so well. The opponent I'm facing tonight has Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs in. If I just played him 1 week later, I might have a chance against him. And of course, it's the opponent I face in the championship most years. So not so good for me. I'm going to be 500. What about you?
So I was in the AJ Brown boat. So
you can do it.
He supposedly is playing. So I have him in both leagues. So I have Hunter Henry and AJ Brown still left in one league, and I think I still need like 37 points to win.
You're Dawson Knox, right?
That's in another league.
Hunter Henry. You don't. Derrick Henry.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did I say? Hunter Henry?
Yeah.
I have Derrick Henry.
I was like, wait, where did you pick up on
Derrick Henry and AJ Brown both playing tonight, so I think I need like 37 points in that one to win, so probably not looking good for me. And then in the other league, I'm going against you, and I have Knox, AJ Brown, and my kicker.
Yeah,
so,
you're probably going to beat me.
And I think I only need 20. Do I need 20 points in that one?
I don't know.
I think something like that.
You already won. I already
I have
conceded.
a little bit more confidence there.
But I already conceded, so you already won.
Okay.
No, it just wasn't a great week for certain players like Chase Claypool and a few others. But either way, we're going to get into all that with the latest 411 right here. The first injury worth noting is it's not totally he's not out of the picture for week 7 here, but running back Alex Collins, he left with a hip and glutes injury and did not return for overtime in week 6.
Kareem Hunt did not return after his calf injury. I think it's reported now that he's going to miss a few weeks.
So if you were like me and jumped on the D'Ernest Johnson train last week, you're safe going this week, but we'll talk more about him when it comes time for waivers. Quarterback Baker Mayfield dislocated his shoulder for the second time this season. I think he's going to be out for a few weeks. I'm not hearing too much yet. I don't know if anything's been said, but that's worth noting. If you are a Baker owner, or Odell Beckham definitely takes a little bit of a hit. I think Case Keenum's okay, though. I wouldn't totally downgrade everybody there.
Dak Prescott, he strained his calf during the game-winning throw. He's going to rest through his bye week and is expected to play week 8.
Wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. from the Browns did leave the game with an injured right shoulder. Keep in mind the shoulder that he injured that kept him out was the left shoulder, but he came back.
Running back Latavius Murray left with an ugly ankle injury, so I don't know. It might be the Freeman show.
I see. It's so hard to say because what about Tyson? Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's just so many
Bell.
there. You're right, Bell. Yeah, that's right. I forgot he got a touchdown this past week. So it's a 3-headed monster. I don't know if we're gonna have any of them to mention, but wide receiver Tyreek Hill left with a quad injury. He came back in though. He should be okay.
And running back Antonio Gibson left with a shin injury.
That one seemed a little bit more serious, I think, because he was already struggling with it in the beginning of the game, I believe, and then it got worse. So that would be one to monitor. This might be good news for McKissick. We'll find out. Worth noting. Wide receiver Kadarius Toney left with a re-aggravated ankle injury. That's definitely worth noting. If you spent big on Kadarius Toney, I hope you didn't.
Wide receiver Paris Campbell left with a foot injury, and T.Y. Hilton with a quad injury.
And Paris Campbell, I think he had a big touchdown right before that injury too, so that was disappointing. But and then the final one, that's in here is tight end Travis Kelce did injure his hand or arm. I thought it was pretty serious, but then he came back. So, and I think he only came back for like the final 10 minutes of the game or something. So that's worth noting, worth monitoring if you're going to worry about that. But some fun stats this week. Quarterback Dak Prescott threw 36 for 51 for 445 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception against the Patriots. It's the most yards a quarterback has ever thrown against Belichick. I don't know if that was period or just at Foxborough, but either way, it was great to see. A good game. You know, they definitely put up a fight both ways.
Patrick Mahomes, 32 for 47 for 397 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Quarterback Kirk Cousins went 33 for 48 for 373 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Running back Jonathan Taylor rushed 14 times for 145 yards with 2 touchdowns.
And he averaged 10.4 yards per carry. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb had 9 receptions for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones had 4 receiving for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He had a bomb, too. Baker, right before the half, threw a bomb into the end zone, and Peoples-Jones caught that one. That was worth watching. No one had him in fantasy. If you had him in DFS, you got a lot of points there, though. Let's get into the waivers. Now, you would think I would have more listed here, but these are a few just to get you guys going. There's definitely more in the hot, but for the cold, I threw in wide receiver KJ Osborne. He's kind of repetitive on this segment. I mentioned him in the past. I even picked him up one week. That was earlier on. I just didn't want to stash him for so long, being the wide receiver 3 in Minnesota. And at the time, Kirk Cousins wasn't really throwing the ball too well. But KJ Osborne is kind of, rising up a little bit as a wide receiver. I think there's too much inconsistency still there that I don't want to bank on him, let alone put a significant amount of fab down to get him. So wide receiver KJ Osborne, he had 19 or something points in PPR leagues this past week, but I just don't think it's going to happen every week. That's why he's a cold pickup for me. But if you wanted to throw $2, $3 his way, if you need a wide receiver, go for it. But that's just my take. What about you?
Well, just note that he's going to be on bye. So I don't know if it's worth picking him up, unless if in a few weeks, you may need a wide receiver. But
True. Good point. Who's hot? Tight end Zach Ertz is now on the Arizona Cardinals. He was traded last week, I think, for a 6th round pick, something like that. But I actually picked up Ertz because he was replacing Goddard on the Eagles last week, and I might have needed a tight end, but I started Hunter Henry. Long story short, it all happened when I had him. I'm stashing him now to see how he does, because he does join a high-powered offense that averaged 3 to 5 targets per game to the tight end recently, until their tight end Max Williams suffered a season-ending injury. He's experienced and talented, possibly even a good trade bait if you have him like me with 3 tight ends on my team, which I never do. But I'm curious to see how this happens. I think he's a hot pickup until we see. I would drop 15% on him if you need a tight end. Otherwise, I wouldn't go any higher than like 7.
Running back D'Ernest Johnson. The D'Ernest Johnson.
You don't need to put a "the" in front of it.
D'Ernest Johnson, running back for the Browns,
who will be playing instead of Kareem Hunt, depending on the extent of Nick Chubb's absence. But he is a good pickup. Obviously, it's why I have him here in the hot section. I'd put down, 15, 20% on him. If you need a running back, if you don't need a running back, you could probably flirt around 12% of your fab.
I don't know if Demetric Felton.
Oh, see, he's ahead of Deion. The funny thing, good thing you mentioned that. So last week, I got the alert that Nick Chubb was out and that Kareem Hunt was in, but I misread the alert when I was out getting our lunch, and I thought it said Kareem Hunt was out too, so I jumped on waivers, and I jumped on the depth chart first, and Demetric Felton is actually listed ahead of D'Ernest Johnson, but from what I remembered from last year and from recent, articles or whatever I've read, D'Ernest Johnson was a better pass catcher, and that he was a better PPR back, even last year when he filled in a few games. So I quickly jumped on it, got Dearness Johnson. So I can't give myself credit on the fact that I was pre-planning anything last week when I picked him up. I picked him up based on an accident, but now I have him for this week. That being said, Demetric Felton is listed ahead of him on the depth chart, but I do believe it's going to be Dearness Johnson. We saw Dearness Johnson in this game. I don't remember seeing Felton at all. So
he was involved in 12 snaps.
Okay. So they're probably going to be split, if anything. It might be like a Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb type thing. I'm banking on Dearness Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, it probably will be, but it does look like it's going to be a little bit of a tag team there. So
running back Tyson Williams, like we mentioned, might be a good pickup this week. I say might because it's so contingent on what's going on there, but we have him in the hot section, so I think he is a good pickup. I would put down 10% on him just because it's a three-headed monster. You don't know how it's going to go, but they do play the hot hand, and I do think he's the most talented out of who remains there. So I would go for him 10%.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't. I feel like they had Bell and Freeman and Murray all playing before Tyson. So I feel like just because Murray might be out, I feel like it's just going to be Bell and Freeman. But I like Tyson. I feel like he's a really good player. I had him in the beginning of the season and he did really well. And then they kind of just shoved him in the back. So I stopped playing him and dropped him. So, yeah, I mean, if you have some confidence in him, grab him. I don't know if I put 10%, but.
Yeah. 10% is my max. The last one we have here, this has to be a contingency because when I wrote this, Rashad Penny was still on IR. Now he's coming off IR. So I think Rashad Penny is going to be stealing the running back duties if Chris Carson's out and Alex Collins doesn't play. I have DJ Dallas here. He is better than most people project him to be as a running back. I think he might even be more competitive with Alex Collins to be better than him. It's just he hasn't gotten the opportunity to prove it yet. So that's why we haven't seen him. That's why a lot of people don't believe it. But running back DJ Dallas at this point is a stash. I have him in the hot section because if Rashad Penny wasn't coming off IR, I would be putting 10 to 15% down to get DJ Dallas, especially if Alex Collins doesn't play for, the injury purposes. But DJ Dallas at this point is a stash. I would put down 5% if anything, but otherwise you might be able just to put a $0 bid out there and get him. But that's pretty much it for our waivers this week. Obviously, we don't have a lot of cold.
Ricky Seals-Jones.
Is that a hot or a cold for you?
I think that's a hot.
Yeah, what would you put down to get him?
Let's see. He caught 4 out of his 6 targets. Well, I guess it depends if Logan Thomas is still going to be out.
Because it's a circle.
He did get a touchdown. Mm-hmm. I had him in DFS. That helped me out. Yeah, I mean, if you need a tight end, I think Ricky Seals-Jones could do it. I feel like with all
the buys that are this week,
right?
That if you need a tight end, I don't think it's a bad one.
Yeah, these are like the worst 2 weeks for buys. Like this past week screwed me too.
Do we have a collection of all the buys?
Yep, we're actually going to get right into that.
Wow, look at that.
We're going to get right into the Week 7 matchups to close out this episode and get you on your way. You could start off with the bye weeks.
So Week 7 buys, we have the Cowboys, the Vikings, the Bills, the Jaguars, the Chargers, and the Steelers.
So yeah, it's definitely another big week. I kind of wish this was their bye week so I didn't have to face Josh Allen and Diggs tonight. As you could tell based on what we're talking about tonight, we are recording this episode before the Monday night game, which is the Bills versus the Titans.
It actually starts in 1 hour.
Starts in 1 hour from when we're recording this. So if anything happens in this episode, just know we recorded before that game and we can tweet about it. You'll see it there. Find it at FanFootball411 on Twitter and the other socials. Getting right into it with the over-unders. The first game this week, Thursday night, Denver Broncos play the Cleveland Browns. The over-under is 44. I'm going under.
Under.
You going under?
I'm going under. It's a Thursday night game. The Browns are going to have this short time frame to get all their people healthy or not. So it's not looking too good. So I'll go under.
No, I agree 100%.
Cincinnati versus the Ravens. The over and under is 48.
I'm going over on this just because I think it is going to be a shootout. Both teams are high powered this season. I mean, I think the Ravens have been killing it lately, and the Bengals, I mean, have been impressing everybody because, I mean, even their defense last week, you wish that you didn't drop them. I never remember hearing that. Usually when you drop the Bengals defense, people ask, why did you even have them in the first place? But they're competitive this season on offense as well. I could see this being a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I'll go over on that one.
Okay. So you're just going to agree with everything so that way you win. Because last week, she beat me by 2 once again on her predictions for over-unders.
So clearly I'm not listening to you then.
So the next game we have is Washington football team versus Green Bay Packers. The over-under on this one is 49.5. I'm going under.
So Green Bay's defense is really bad. So I'll go over on this one.
Is it really bad, though?
I think it's really bad.
Yeah? Okay. All right, at least I got one in the books for this week now.
You think Green Bay's defense is good?
I think they're better than bad.
I think they're better than bad. We got the Falcons versus Miami. The over and under is 48. Ugh.
I'm going over on this one.
I'll go under.
I can see that being under, honestly.
I'll go under.
I just wanted to be, well, and this is what I do every week. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make a fun pick here and go over, and then it ends up being under anyways. The New York Jets play the New England Patriots once again. Revenge game for the Jets. The over-under is 43. Just because I want to be realistic here, I'm going under.
Yeah, I'm going under on that one. We have the Panthers and the Giants. The over and under is 44. I'll go over on that one.
Yeah, I'm going under just because of Sam Darnold hasn't looked great lately, even though he started the season off pretty well. He's just not looking too great now. And I just think Carolina Panthers do have a good defense. So do the Giants. It's a decent defense. But I think Stephon Gilmore might be able to play for this game. If he is, then, you know, Giants are shut down there. But either way, good defenses playing each other. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Kansas City Chiefs are playing Tennessee Titans. The over-under on that one is 56.5.
Damn.
I'm going under on that just because it's so high. I mean, I think both teams could play high, and I think if Tennessee could play the way that people think that the Titans can play, I think that could be a high-scoring game, but they're not. I mean, we'll see tonight with this Bills game how they play, but I just don't think they're going to get that high.
I feel like they can just because Tennessee's defense isn't good. So if Mahomes is just in his zone and he's just touchdown, I can see this going over.
So you're going over?
I'll go over. The Lions versus the Rams with a 49.5 over and under. I'll go under.
I'm going under on that one as well. Philadelphia Eagles are playing Las Vegas. The over-under on that is 48. The only reason I'm not saying much on Detroit versus the Rams, because look at Detroit this past week. You know, now they're playing the Rams defense. I just don't think it's going to be that great. It's not going to be a great game to watch. It's going to be one-sided. If you have Rams, play them all, obviously. Detroit, you got to play Swift. You got to play Hawkinson, but that's about it. But Philly versus Las Vegas, 48 over-under. I'm going over on this one. I think it has potential to be a shootout, especially since the Raiders didn't show any mercy, even though John Gruden isn't their coach anymore. They were still plugging away.
Yeah, I agree. Over on that one. The Texans versus the Cardinals. The over and under is 48. I'll go over.
Yeah, I'm going over as well. I think it could be a surprise here. I think that Houston has been showing some promise, you know, with Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks catching the ball and Davis Mills not looking absolutely horrible. I mean, he put up a fight against the Patriots. And you have the Cardinals, obviously, being the Cardinals. They're a high-scoring offense anyways. So, yeah, that could totally go over, and I hope it does. Moving on to the final three, we have Chicago Bears taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The over-under on that is 49. And based on Chicago's offensive line and discrepancies as a team, I'm going under on that. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
I'll go over. the Colts versus the 49ers with a 44.5 over and under. I'll go over.
I'm going to go over as well. I think that could be pretty good back and forth. And the final one is the Saints versus the Seahawks. I believe this is Monday night. Over under is 44. I'm going under on this one just because it's not Drew Brees versus Russell Wilson. If it was, then I think we'd go over. But since it's Geno Smith versus Jameis, I think Jameis can, throw the ball, and Michael Thomas might be back this week to help them out against, Seahawks struggling defense. But I don't think the Seahawks can put up, 20 points against the Saints. I just don't see it. So, yeah, I'm going under on that.
I feel like that's so low. I feel like it's going to be over 44.
Well, that's it. Another week in the books. We will see who comes out the most accurate with these over-unders. If you have any questions with your matchups this week, feel free to hit us up on Twitter at FanFootball411 or on any of the socials. If you don't trust my advice, you can also get Amanda's advice on there as well. So it works both ways. Whichever one of us you want advice from, let us know. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on all the other socials, as I stated.
Fan Football 411. Well, that's a wrap on week 6, and we'll catch you week 7.